Howdy folks, my name's Christian and welcome to Bullish on Farming. Today I'm just rolling out a bale for the girls. Well, actually it'll be 2 bales. Our group's getting 2 bales a day. And I posted a video yesterday as to why we're doing this. We're now back at our starting point, which is our high field that we calve on. It's a firm field that seems to get a lot of moisture runoff, and it's pretty stony. So it stays high and dry, and we don't worry about poaching too much, because you could call this almost a sacrificial field that we're working on by compounding carbon, unrolling hay, distributing manure, by keeping the cattle on here a little longer, well, a lot longer than we would on regular pasture. But anyways, I wanted to show how this bale unrolling system's working. It's nothing fancy. And you've probably tried something like this before if you've got excited about rolling out hay on your land. It's just a tow strap with an 8-foot rebar pounded right through the center of it. And you just attach that to the hitch, cut off the twine, and you're ready to go. It's gonna be a little tough working this thing in the throttle while having the camera, but I'll try and give the best demo I can and try and keep things rolling here. So, hopping on the quad and roll. So the thing about this is you want to keep, obviously the tow strap has slack to it, so you want to keep a speed that keeps the bale rolling, and you don't want to get too quick because those straps will come right off. And I usually get down to, I don't know, 20% of the bale before I hop off this thing and hand roll it. Because I got my back all cranked trying to look back while I'm driving, it's not perfect. But it's easy enough to reset this thing if you just grab the rebar, kind of re-angle it to your quad, pull your strap straight. But as you can see, it rolls it out nice and easy. And nice and thin so that the cattle can mob it. And so what they leave behind is a fair amount. It's going to be thicker in some areas, but you got to remember that the cattle will clean it up if you just put a little less feed out on one day a week. They'll go and clean up what they've left in the other bales, and this is perfect. You can see that it's pretty mildly topped onto the land, and well, this field needs it. So we're doing this for about a week and a half now, buying us some time, letting the rain that we're going to be getting over the past 5 to 7 days to really boost our pastures before we turn out for our final lap. Hey, come on girls, let's go. Oh, yeah, ha. So, you know, since I got a camera in my hand here and I'm working this, I'm going to take the tow straps off. Oh, appreciate your patience, and I guess that's what these videos are all about. They're really non-scripted, off the cuff. I don't plan these videos. They're really just inspired from working with the animals. And I say, oh, I'm gonna shoot a video now. For the love of the game, baby. Watch out, Lucy girl. So this is a bit bigger than I would usually like to finish rolling out the bale, but I can literally just kick this thing and you can see that it starts to just continue doing what it's doing. And I'm not going to take up the whole video doing this, but I do want this to be rolled out so that the girls can be eating it as feed, nice and spread out. And you can see that I'm not really worrying about where this bale's going. Of course, you want to target some areas that are more bare in soil like this. And I would leave a core of the bale, that's a bit big, in this area right here, so that when they break it up, it kind of spreads all around the bare area. But we're September 2nd today, and the plan was not to be doing this, but I did explain in a previous video that the last 2 fields we had in our grazing rotation, although they came up strong with a spring flush, and those fields actually went mature, so we trampled a lot of the fescue to create a nice armor layer. The grass is in there, the warm season grasses. They're not too established, and we're gonna have to introducing some more grasses to those fields. And although we got about 6 inches of feed in those 2 fields, I still wanted those fields to offer us feed for the 3rd lap. And because it's the first year that we're really doing regenerative work, I know from experience that by giving those 2 fields another 60 days rest, which will give them a 120-day rest period before we're back at them, is what's going to serve those fields in the long run, allowing those plants to express themselves and for the grasses to really establish more mature root systems. So then when the cattle get to those fields are ready to accommodate our animals. Not only will they offer feed, but enough ground cover to offer a carbon layer, compound into that carbon layer for next year, and leaving some vegetation up top so that it doesn't go into frost with bare soil. You know, little subtle things that you do when you're thinking about your land and your animals, not just feeding your animals for today. Of course, the animals need to eat. They should never go without feeding. Come on, girls. Hey, leave this alone. But there are ways to manage what you have available so that you can be working towards that win-win situation. You don't want to feed your animals for a day if it's going to muck up your field and make it more worse off the next time you return to it. Now, I'm not saying what you should or should not be doing, but from personal experience, I don't want to be doing that. And so having a high field that's firm and doesn't get pulled up if you start getting some excess moisture is a good field to have on your farm when you need your cattle to be somewhere, but you don't want to take them off grass. Now, folks, you can see how grazed down this field is. This is the only field on the farm that this happens to. And it's like I said before, it's kind of our sacrificial field. But it's buying us about 2 weeks of allowing our pastures to grow out. You know, I've mentioned before in previous videos, we had 60 days of virtually no rain. And so those pastures were hurting. And this week of rain that we were getting, I know is going to make a difference because those pastures have been resting for 60 days. They just need some moisture, and a lot can happen in 2 weeks, especially when the ground's thirsty and the plants are asking for it. So it was a call that I made, and happy we've done it so far. We'll see if it plays out in our advantage. But if we turn out by mid-September, we'll have about 65 to 70 days of grazing, and that should bring us to mid-November, hopefully close to December. And then people say, oh, well, how are you supposed to keep your animals on the land when things start freezing? Well, I guess we'll talk about that more when we get closer to that time. It's more about using what you got. Like, for instance, we have this high and dry field, but getting water out here, you might have to get a bit creative. But all of that is worth it when you're keeping your animals on the land, and it's not just for fun. You do know that the animals enjoy it more. However, it's for the hygiene of the animal as well. Once you start getting into a permanent winter pen setting, you're now dealing with a whole new game of waste management, and you have waste accumulating that you have to muck out every week. And then if you don't, and even if you do, you may be dealing with foot rot and infections and unhygienic conditions that can lead to other unfavorable health conditions. And we want to stay away from that. Because in the wild, the way nature's designed, although we can call the vet, the healer is nature. And it proactively keeps these animals recycled and clean if they keep moving. And so that's the goal. And folks, you got to do what you got to do. So if you have to bring your cattle to a permanent winter paddock, that's okay. Just open your mind to what you could be doing to serve the health of your animals and your land, and open up to that and intend to move in that direction. It doesn't have to happen overnight. You know, a lot of farms that are converting to regenerative practices, they want to do everything in the first year. That's not sustainable. You kind of want to make adjustments and changes according to what your farm can accommodate. Okay, and that's all based on a multitude of factors that you can't really just express here and now. All has to do with your farm, your land, your animals, your resources, your budget, your skill set, your experience. And you want to move slowly but surely into a regenerative direction if you're interested in that. So, tons of fun coming out to the girls, although I'm not doing my paddock moves. I love that, calling the cattle and watching them move to fresh pasture. We are bringing out 2 fresh bales a day, and we got plenty of hay, and we're gonna use it. So it's kind of funny how things work out. We got like a 1.5 years worth of hay this year, and now we're making a decision like this. So although we'll only be putting a slight chip in the supply of hay that we got, I don't think we could get through all that hay this year, even if we tried. It is comforting knowing that we have the hay to do this at this time. And this is an opportunity now, although the cattle are taking a break from the pasture. Now I say that, but they're still on the field, right? But taking a break from fresh pasture rotations, and now we have an opportunity to lay down carbon on this field and continue to do that and build topsoil and increase the fertility of what we got going on out here. And you know, this field will serve its purpose for as long as we need it and as long as we think it can handle it, because you know, eventually this field, getting bale grazed this intensely, it happens twice a year, 3 times a year, it's gonna need some rest. This is the first year we're doing this, and we'll evaluate and see how it comes out in the spring, and we'll make our decisions then. But so far so good. We're happy to keep our animals on the land, to keep them fed. They're all growing calves, so we don't want them going hungry. And well, no complaints so far. So anyways, I thought it was kind of cool to show how we roll out that bale. Nothing fancy, folks, but it works, and I do 2 bales a day that way. So if you want to give it a shot at home, I encourage you to do so. And if you're gonna do it, make sure that your cattle are not starving, because they will mob that bale as soon as you get that wrap off. And if you got a bunch of cattle mobbing a bale and you're trying to pull it, it's just more of a fiasco than you need to be dealing with. So you get your system in place and you keep your bales handy to do it, and it's seamless and it works. So thanks folks for stopping by. We'll see you on the next one.